Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, we will be talking about a very large, widespread winter storm that will be occurring across the United States. With this storm, there are quite a bit of threats, and a lot of them are not as direct, or I guess as they would seem just by looking at the precipitation map. And basically what I'm alluding to is the extreme cold air that will be following this system. It's a polar vortex. Yes, it is occurring rather late in the season, but my goodness, if this were to occur at the same strength, say in late January, we would be, we would be screwed. But thankfully, it is a little bit warmer already. It's almost spring. So yeah, but still, nonetheless, extreme cold, something you'd see typically in January. And we also have obviously heavy snow threat. A portion of the United States could see a very good rainfall, flooding rainfall in some areas, unfortunately. And yeah, the pattern after that stays active with more systems, albeit they won't be, I guess, massive storms or huge. They will have their fair share of impacts and just obviously be rather disruptive. So before we get into this, I just want to say, if you do enjoy this type of content, and if you don't know yet, then watch the video. Obviously, check out the channel. If you do, at the end, consider liking, subscribing. It helps out a lot. And if you have any comments or concerns, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them, whether about the snowstorm, the future, the long range. Say whatever you want to say, and I will do my best to answer it. Okay, so let's start talking about this, shall we? So first off, I want to take a look at the National Weather Service Weather Ready Nation map, and notice we finally have a winter storm that is further across the north. I say that because a lot of these areas here haven't seen a big snow event really in a while, if at all, during this winter. There have been quite a few, but again, I don't know if there have been as widespread as this one will be. You can see where the winter storm warnings are. That's where the heaviest and most disruptive conditions will be occurring. Heaviest snow and strongest disruptions. You can see that extends, hundreds of miles, if not even maybe 1,000 plus, all the way from the Montana, and then potentially again getting extended into Michigan. You have winter storm watches there. A few winter weather advisories in the Northeast, and anywhere we have those blue, that's also the winter weather advisories. And notice that actually into Colorado we have some winter storm warnings, some winter weather advisories into Utah, to California, into Washington. This is kind of to do with the second system that will be right on the heels of this first one, but it also has definitely quite a bit of concerning things with it, but I guess also a good amount of snow for some of these areas, which is nice for California. Nothing extreme though. I do want to say that again, on the warmer side of things, not necessarily the severe weather that will be extremely concerning, though it is definitely a factor. It's more of the flooding rain. You can see it's widespread over a large area of the country. These areas have seen a lot of rain, and they will get absolutely swamped by this next storm yet again. So that's something I want to note. And then, of course, the last thing, if there isn't already enough to talk about, is the extreme cold. And notice we have wind chill watches already put up for central Nebraska, North Platte. Large metros getting impacted by this potential cold. And this cold won't be cold that you're used to seeing in late February. Well, there are extreme temperatures here across the plains pretty late into the year, right, with light snowstorms, early severe weather. This is definitely something that hasn't occurred in a while. Notice North Platte, right now you're at 60. Enjoy that while it lasts. You probably won't be seeing that at least till, I would say, maybe the first week, if not beyond the first week of March. So notice it gets cold tomorrow, snowy, a little bit of snow, nothing extreme, but you start seeing brutal temperatures. 5, -7, -4, -6. This is again something you wouldn't necessarily see as you head into March, but it definitely is a reality. And especially where the snow falls, it will be even colder across some of these areas. Let's just take a look at Ashley, North Dakota. Notice it's already snowing right now, 5 to 9 inches there tonight, 2 to 4 additional tomorrow. Decent snowstorm, and look at these temperatures, -22, -21. Brutal cold, and this extends way well into next week. And I do want to show you the radar of the United States right now, and I will just use the National Weather Service radar for this. Again, this may not be completely accurate, meaning that some of the areas that you see under, especially those grayish colors, may not be reaching the surface, but let me play back the last, 1.5 hours, and notice we have a lot of precip across the west. It's falling in the form of snow mainly, especially across Minnesota and Montana and Idaho. But notice out here we also have some snow starting to develop, which will bring a lot of snow for these areas. And that brings us, kind of segues us into our main thing I want to talk about for the next few minutes, which is the snowfall with this system. I use this National Weather Service forecast. It's what they think will fall, and I don't have to jump around their individual offices, right? I could just show you on the map that it displayed here, and you can see it is a lot of snow across portions of northern Minnesota into Duluth, northern Wisconsin. Again, nothing, I guess, record breaking or extreme, but for many areas, this could be the biggest system of the year thus far. Maybe not, I know that there have been some nasty ones there already this year, but I know that for specific areas, this may be a very big one. And do note that some of the areas across South Dakota, 5 inches forecasted across southern Minnesota. There's also a decent bit. Some of this is still not set in stone. It may jump around quite a bit more, especially the second wave of this system. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It comes in 2 waves, really. And look at the west, also getting quite a bit of mountain snow, which is good. They need anything they can get. Again, nothing extreme, but it's still, we don't have amounts that are in the 40, 50, 60-inch ranges, which we saw earlier in December. But we do have areas that could see over a foot, foot and a half in the extreme peaks across California and Oregon. And then also decent snow across Montana, mainly staying under a foot. But then across Colorado, right there, the Colorado Rockies, we could really see areas that are in the 2 to 3 feet, which is definitely good, as they are still rather dry. So that's the snow swath from the system. You can see it's rather widespread, which is why I alluded to that in the forecast. And notice it extends into Canada, except this this website doesn't show that, unfortunately, but I will right here in just a second. So I think that the best handle of all the models is the European model, and that's kind of based off what I'm observing with the trends and also what the National Weather Service is saying. And notice that I said earlier that this will come in 2 waves. So this is what I mean. This is the first wave. It's already starting. If you recall, I showed you on the radar. It's a little edge of snow extending into the plains. Look, so this is tomorrow early in the morning. We're not 6, but 2 in the morning. So really, really early. I guess for some it's the late night, but that's the first wave. Notice it's already snowing pretty heavily, and the thing is that it will be very cold, so it will have no problem accumulating. It won't be really a wet snow. Also, maybe the further south you go, it will be, but up here north, not necessarily. Notice you do have a bit of snow extending into Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, delivering sorry about that, delivering that snow over there. You do have an area of precipitation, probably some thunderstorms. I don't think they're going to be severe. It doesn't look like if they have any of those capabilities. Though, again, some hail damaging wind is possible with any thunderstorm. And do note that they are more of a heavy rain threat as they kind of circle around in the same area across Mississippi and Alabama. So if you live across these areas, be prepared for some wet conditions into tomorrow. And as well as northern Louisiana. Now, notice that as this system moves out into closer towards the plains and out from the mountains, this first wave starts to peter. It's still snowing heavily across these areas, but we were more focused on this guy, this bad guy right here. He starts going out, and he gets more confident and bold. It gets pretty strong. You can see a lot of warm air out ahead of the system, plowing this forward, this precipitation, allowing this thing to strengthen and develop additional snow across South Dakota, Minnesota, into Wisconsin. Notice some rain across Indiana, Illinois. This is where the severe weather threat may be a bit higher, where these bands of rain do develop, and these little thunderstorms, especially towards the south, kind of along that cold front. Notice the snow again developing, and also the ice, an actual decent bit of ice developing. The thing is that's keeping this from not being a concerning ice system or situation is that wherever it is obviously falling, and any bit of ice is really dangerous, but it's not devastating. You can see it's pretty progressive. It moves along and doesn't stay over one given period for any given period of time. Notice, though, this thing really couples well together. The cold air brings more snow into potentially some heavier rates by the time this is Tuesday afternoon into Minnesota and Wisconsin, and we do see a lot of rain on the rainy side of this across areas that have already seen a lot of rain, so that's not good. And then notice that for cities like Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, this is mainly a rain event. Earlier we were thinking that it could be maybe more of a snow event. It seems to have taken the more northern scenario, but for cities like Quebec and just north, this is going to be a massive walloping winter storm. And do note that there's quite a bit of rain that especially occurs across and kind of lags out across Tennessee, into Kentucky, into portions of the south, and this will be reluctant to go away as we start seeing another system move in. So again, I think this model has the best handle on it. right? So let's take a look at what it shows through hour 78. Once this system pretty much is out of here, and let me show total accumulated precip. So this is including snow, rain, just everything that you can measure. Notice kind of a spotty nature of these showers, especially across Indiana, maybe into Missouri. There could be some heavier showers, maybe even some thunderstorms, not severe, though they could have some hail. Notice that again the precip amounts are varied, so be prepared for either seeing nothing or actually quite a bit of rain. That's the best way I could put it, especially in Illinois, central Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. But the further south you go into southern Indiana, southern Ohio, into West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, right here, you start seeing those more widespread heavy rain amounts, which is a bit of a more concern. And obviously where that snow falls, decent amount of precip as well. But look, right here across the mountains, decent amounts of precipitation from that snow. So that is definitely some good news. It's nothing, it's not going to help out much in a larger scale of the drought, but it definitely will aid to an extent. Now, I do want to show you that, go back to that simulation of the radar, that right after the system really pulls away, we have a lot of cold air just diving in behind it, as the winds after a low pressure always are left spinning kind of from the north and northwest and northeast in the wake of a low pressure's presence, and that's exactly what happens. Boom. And we also have a low pressure dragging even more cold air behind it as it starts developing snow across Utah, Colorado, Arizona. And let me show you some of these temperatures, because this really doesn't do justice. So again, this is almost March at this point that I'm showing you. Right here, this isn't as close to March as this is Monday, Tuesday, you can see Wednesday. But by the time this really, like the brunt of this cold air starts kicking in, which is really Wednesday and into Wednesday night across many of these locations. And again, it's towards the latter half of April, and we really start seeing the cold air become uncharacteristically cold. I mean, you can see across South Dakota, -19 during the nighttime hours. Much of South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, Wyoming, the West as well, decently, actually very cold. Seattle right there, 31 degrees, just around there. And then notice that this does extend into the northeast with some pretty chilly temperatures, albeit not as cold. And these areas will be colder as there's a lot of snow that is kind of making that transport of cold air a bit easier. Versus the northeast, there isn't much snowpack. And then notice that into Friday, right? Look at some of those temperatures. I mean, those are just barbaric. And we have, freezing temperatures all the way into Dallas, right? So, and it's pretty much already almost in March at this point. As I push this forward, you may think this is a quick disappearing system or cold air mass. Nope, it stays around for a good while. Obviously, there is some moderation, but you could see many areas not getting above freezing, even during the day. Oklahoma City, right there, the second to last day of February, and you're at 30 degrees. And during the night, again, more cold air into potentially Texas, more of the south. And as soon as you think this goes away, it more spreads more into the east, right? So Georgia, frost during the night. This is early March now at this point. Much of the northeast, North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, very, very cold air for this part of the country at this time of the year. And you can see even inland northeast gets on some pretty brutal cold. So maybe in the longer range after that, some moderation, but really just an extreme cold air mass after this winter storm. And really all models show this. If I were to show you the GFS, 2-meter temperature. Let's just take a look at the anomaly. So this shows us, I guess, how much above or below average the temperature is at any given point based off historical data. So obviously out ahead of a big system on a warmer side, it's going to be warm, but look at that. I mean, it really stands out even more than the warm side of this, that cold air anomaly. And you can see it takes shape across much of the Dakota, spills into the west, especially pretty far south because of that low pressure that is developing right after this first system. It pulls away. Notice very cold air for Texas, Oklahoma, and into much of the kind of the heartland of the United States. Some of these are really pushing almost off the charts in terms of the anomalies on Thursday. The GFS is probably a bit more aggressive than even the European, with showing, again, maybe widespread -30s, which probably is a bit of an over-exaggeration. I think it will just top out around -25, but really that doesn't make much of a difference whether it's -25 or -30. The bottom line is that it's cold, and really only, at points this week, the only area that will be above average is the south, and they could be in quite a major way. But yeah, this really penetrates way into even northern Mexico, and wherever snow does fall, you can see right there, there's a predicted snowstorm as there is a colder air mass around that. And again, moderation does occur, but you can see these recurring little blasts of cold air. You can see some warm up finally above average, though not by a massive extent. For the west, it does stay rather warm, and you can see right there, that anomaly does spill through, but it does quickly get replaced by more moderate, if not just yet again colder air. So it doesn't seem that March will be coming in very, very warm whatsoever. It will be coming in like a lion, as that saying goes. And the anomalies, just to show you the GEFS, right? So these are many, many models combined to show an average look of what they think, which is really good at using for forecasting temperatures. They all show that very cold air mass, right? And they show just re-incursions of cold air. Obviously, there is some moderation, especially for given dates, maybe the first weekend of March, some warmer temperatures, but in the long range, it does look like the cold air will really maintain a lot of its supremacy and not go away. Look at that. I mean, this is March 8th, maybe not barbaric cold, but again, this is far out, and to see such a indication this far out is rather impressive and probably concerning. So that's that. I do want to show you what the GFS shows in terms of the total snowfall from this event that we're talking about here. And let's not get too carried away, and let's just go right here. Notice decent snow across the south and west right here. Again, also good amounts of snow, but this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. A lot of this will be falling in that very cold air, meaning it will be a higher ratio. So for that, let me show you the more accurate snowfall ratios, GFS, and show you what this model what it shows more closer to reality. And let's stop it at hour 78, like or what we did with the European, just right there. Notice some of these amounts again exceeding well into the probably well over foot and a half, and in the Colorado area, look at those some of those amounts, very, very impressive. Canada right there, again, also very impressive. Canadian model, just to show you, again, a very similar track, very similar heavy snow scenario, and also a lot of snow for the southwest. Now, in long range, I do want to say that there are, again, additional chances for snow. You can see that system that is that's going to bring some of that snow across California into this upcoming early week. By the midweek, that first system pulls away, the second one starts ejecting, and you can see it starts producing some ice maybe across Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, pretty far to the south, something to watch for. And you can see that it actually stays put across these areas for a good period of time. Look, starting Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday, finally moves off towards the west. So this could produce a lot of ice, potentially, good amounts of it. Quite a bit of heavy rain across areas, yet again, that have seen heavy rain repeatedly. And as I put this forward, you can see this does bring some widespread light to moderate snow across the mid-Atlantic, southern kind of not really the mid-Atlantic. The northern fringe of the mid-Atlantic sees really more of a ice mix. They see more of a rain mix. The mid-Atlantic itself in the northeast picks up some snow. The southern Great Lakes into the Midwest, and that system pulls away. But really, again, you could see kind of clippers, blasts of cooler air, nothing really too warm. Maybe warmed up again across the west, as you saw some of those anomalies earlier, but it doesn't seem to be long-lived or really spread out and dominate the cold pattern. And look, more systems. Pretty nasty storms potentially in the long range. So that is that. I do want to, I already showed you the total snowfall from the National Weather Service. Let me show you the total rainfall, as that is another thing that I, again, am concerned with this system. And really, the system after this upcoming one will also be bringing very heavy rain towards the very similar area here. And you can see that they could already see 2 to 3, 4 inches from this storm. They already have very high creeks, and another 2 to 4 inch event would really put these areas in a precarious situation. And do note, in terms of the mountain snow and precip, it's actually not too bad. So that's definitely good news right there. And yeah, that's pretty much all the points I wanted to cover. This thing is widespread. This thing is massive. And it will be coming in 2 waves. I did mention that earlier. So for a city like Minneapolis or Minnesota, the heaviest will fall just to the north of you. But look, Tuesday or Monday snowfall forecast. Well, I can't show you it because they have these split up into 2 different events, and I don't know why I can't show you this. You can see, so this is Monday's snowfall forecast. When I click on it, they just change the image with this image right here. But I want to show you this. So that's Monday's snowfall. You can see. Let's wait for this to load. Come on. I guess now it's not loading. Let's see if we could click maybe just north into Duluth. This is the total snowfall. Yeah, I should have just showed you this. But look, prolonged period of snow on the way. A lot of these areas, probably maybe even getting over towards 2 feet in some of these areas. You can see 12 to 18, 12 to 18. Twin Cities, still a major event, just maybe not as significant as further towards the north. And what I wanted to show you was, let's take a look on this. So this is what I wanted to show you right here. This is the first wave. That's just the first wave. And notice 8 to 12 across some of these areas. Twin Cities, not getting anything extreme, but the northern areas may get 3 to 4 or 5 inches. And then the second wave is a bit more significant for the Twin Cities. You can see 4 to 6, you know, and again, that's on top of already that 2 to 3, 4 you could get. So total, you can see it's pretty significant. Again, just to the north, the heaviest will fall, but even areas further south, it's a decent event. And you can see they do have winter storm warnings issued, and it kind of runs just south of the city, that line between the advisories and the warnings. So yeah, you can see we do have advisories also for these areas, and that's not with the snow, but for the ice that we talked about. And you can see that some of these areas could actually see a pretty good likelihood of seeing some pretty significant icing, which definitely would be concerning. So that is something to watch for as well. All right, that is basically it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned, as I'll be bringing you more updates.